Honorable Speaker, my colleagues, I hereby move that a bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Research Institute's Act Cap N132 LFN 2004 to include the establishment of the Shea Butter Research Institute and for related matters be moved the second time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Be read the second time. When crude oil was discovered in the current state Bayelsa of the country, the agriculture was the mainstay of this economy. About 90% contribution to the GDP was what agriculture did to this economy. But after the discovery of the hydrocarbon material, we neglected agriculture. And this is what has led to our current mono-economy situation that has not helped this nation. Having said that, one must acknowledge the spirited effort of the current administration in trying to reenact the kind of relevance that agriculture had in our economy prior to the 1970s. And you will also recall that prior to the independence of this country, there were research institutes that were established. The essence of establishing and the major consideration of developing those research institutes at those times was to provide a hub for research and development for our focused cash crops and food crops as an economy. And the efficiency of those research institutes was what led to the possibility of agriculture contributing 90% to the gross domestic product of this nation at that time. What we are trying to achieve by this amendment is that the cash crops, we have the Cocoa Institute, we have the Rice Institute, we have the Rubber Institute, we have the Trypanosomiasis Institute that took care of the livestock situation. The current day situation is that the GDP contribution of agriculture to our economy has dropped from the very appealing 90% to about 40%. And of this 40%, about 85% is contributed by agriculture still, about 10% by livestock, and about the remaining by forestry and fishery. So what we're trying to do is to optimize this effort of government to make sure that we reawaken agriculture in this country. The shea butter, which is the shea tree, does very well in Nigeria. In fact, it goes very well in 21 states of the 36 states of this nation because there is an enabling arable land and the weather conditions in those areas are very conducive for shea trees. And we all know that shea butter production is very important, and a lot of us use shea butter. And we also are aware that when you go outside this country, Nigerian shea butter is repackaged in Ghana and exported. There is a huge potential. Records have it that about 53% of the export of shea butter is actually from Nigeria. It goes to Asia, it goes to the United States and other parts of the world. And it's being used in the pharmaceutical industry, it's being used in the cosmetic industry. So this is not, we're not optimizing this possibility because shea butter, we have the capacity to export about 500,000 metric tons of shea butter. And how can we best achieve it? By, rather than having an amendment to this Research Institute bill, where shea butter will be included in the bill, and the establishment of the institute will carry out efficient research so that the shea butter tree that currently grows over a period of 15 to 20 years before the nuts come out, the research can make sure that we have improved varieties that will be short-spanned and they come to fruit early so that these nuts can be gotten early and we can benefit. We can also make sure that the processing, which is a little bit not organized and is not up to global standard right now, we can make sure that the processing of shea butter is brought to global standard status so that we can compete favorably, rather than people buying our shea butter in bulk and repackaging in neighboring countries to sell as their exports. We can export our shea butter and meet the European standards and American standards of import of shea butter. We're in a situation where we don't have a choice but to develop our agriculture and other sectors of the economy to take us from this mono-economic situation to a diverse economy. So this is like a situation waiting to be optimized. So these amendments will provide the institutional platform for us to develop shea butter as a nation and optimize the economic potentials therein. The bill is divided into 6 sessions, which basically seek to include shea butter in the long title, Section 1 and 3, as well as the first schedule provisions relating to labeling the institute in the Principal Act. The highlights of the bill. The highlights of the bill include establishing the Shea Butter Research Institute with the mandate to ensure genetic improvement, production, and processing of the various products associated with shea butter produced in Nigeria. Secondly, given the anticipated expansion of the industry in Nigeria, coupled with the potential to mechanically process and export 500,000 metric tons annually, there is no doubt that the economy around shea butter is huge, especially in the cosmetics and pharmaceutical industry in Asia and Europe. In conclusion, honorable colleagues, the efforts required to drive the Nigerian economy out of our present situation ought to be an all-encompassing approach. It is for this reason that I seek that the House considers and support my proposal to amend the Nigerian Research Institute Act Cap N132 LFN 2004 to include the establishment of the Shea Butter Research Institute. Thank you, my colleagues. I count on your support for this amendment. Thank you.
I represent the people of Ado, Ogbadibo, Okokufera constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Benue. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill that has been well packaged by Honorable Kannike. Mr. Speaker, like he has put it, Nigeria is the largest producer of shea nut in the world. As a matter of fact, our annual output of shea nut is put at about 1 million tons per annum. Out of this 1 million tons per annum, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, over 50% of that go to waste. And the balance 50%, 90% of that is also smuggled to neighboring countries where they are processed into shea butter. What we have left, what our local women or the women in the rural area do is to pick up the leftovers, process it into our own local shea butter for local consumption. Now, this bill seeks to set up a research center that will further improve the genetics as well as ensure that, the quality of whatever we are going to be processing will move up from where it is today. It will interest Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, to note that the shea butter that we produce in Nigeria does not meet the export standards of butter that is needed in the European Union as well as in America. Because it is the EU and America that are the major consumers of this product. Because of the way our local women handle shea butter, it is always infected with contaminated by what they call aflatoxin, which is harmful to the human body. So if we have a research center that will come up with genetics or shea nuts that will meet certain quality, it will go a long way in helping that industry. Mr. Speaker, you want to know that the volume of shea nut we produce in this country is worth about $200 billion annually. And over 90% is taken to Benin and Ghana for processing. We have only one major processing plant in Nigeria, and they cannot process more than 30,000 tons a year. So when we have this kind of institution, people become aware that there is money to be made in that sector. The country is better off. I think it will go a long way in helping our agri exports and also helping our rural women. So I want to crave the indulgence of this House to please support this bill to pass for the second reading so that that sector, in any case, we have research centers like the Nigerian Cocoa Research as well as the yam tubers and other agricultural research institutions. So if we decide to set this up, it will do well. It will go a long way in helping the agricultural sector. So I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Shagari, I represent Tiabo Shagari constituency in Sokoto State. Let me start by saying I have a lot of respect for the sponsor of this bill, Dr. Kannike, but I find it very necessary to oppose this bill for the simple reason that I identify with the intendment of the sponsor of this bill, which is to have an institute that will look into the production of shea butter and to help realize the economic potential of this commodity. But I am constrained to think of the financial implication of the establishment of this institute. When looking at the fact that we have agricultural research institutes that could as well perform this function by just dedicating a department to take care of this venture. And I think if you look at when we came on board, sir, we said we were going to look into reduction of cost of governance. And that is, of course, to make sure that we don't have proliferation of agencies and MDAs. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that this could be done by a research institute already existing that can open a department to take care of this. I don't see the necessity of having a whole institute just take care of research in shea butter. That's my humble view on this. And I urge the sponsor of this bill to have a rethink and step down the bill for further consultations. Thank you.
Any more contribution?
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as rightly argued by the sponsor of this bill, shea butter contributes a lot to the agricultural economy of this country, and also it generates a lot of employment for our teeming constituents in the rural areas. And I also concur with him that there is no research institute that is specifically dedicated or given the mandate of conducting research on shea butter. But I know that there is a research institute that has a subsidiary mandate of conducting research on shea butter. But that notwithstanding, because of the importance of shea butter and its contribution to our economy and the amount of employment that it generates, there is need to amend the Agricultural Research Institutes Act with a view to creating a research institute that will be specifically dedicated for the purpose of conducting research on shea butter. Thank you. I support the second reading of this bill.
I'm just trying to bring a middle course to it. Honestly, in Nigeria now that our budgetary provision is so fickle, so small, and we are competing and we cannot fund it properly, multiplicity of institutions is not welcome. Since we already have an existing research institute, I think what we need is to have internal restructuring so that the department can work properly. Otherwise, if it is necessary, we have sunflower, we have all other important things that internationally in the vegetable oil market, they are contributing to the GDP just like the shea butter. I think at worst is to create what we call Vegetable Oils Research Institute, in which case there will be Sunflower Research, Oils Research Institute, there will be Sesame Research Institute, there will be this, including the shea butter. And then you can now have one in charge of about 10 departments. But to have a single product institute, at the end we will have about 1,000 institutes, and I don't think is right. And therefore, if it were a motion, I would have given an amendment, but this is a bill, and I don't think it is as spacious to pass a one product, one institute. I don't think it's substantial, sir. That is the truth, especially looking at our economy. More so that the bill has not been able to tell us how many percent of the GDP is the contribution. I'm not saying shea butter is not important, but what is the contribution to the GDP? That it will also gulp part of our this thing. Let's be sincere and honest and tell ourselves true. We cannot do one product, one institute. It's not right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I give commendation to the mover of this bill. And if I will be correct, the mover of the bill is seeking for the amendment to add the responsibility of those who are shadowed with the responsibility before to take over, to add this, the responsibility of the shea butter into the existing one. If not, then we cannot look for a collective name that maybe that like a botanical name that a lot of the fruit or a lot of the product on these categories can be brought together so that Nigerians can work on it, so that at the end of the day we can able to get the dividend of democracy to our people and for the farmers in general. Thank you.
What I am trying to say for me is to empower, look at the whole ARCN Act and empower this institution. We have a model in India. You cannot find this kind of single research institute in India, just like what the mover of this bill is trying to achieve. But it is structured in such a way that most of the important products or crops which they add value locally and internationally, they are given priority under that research system and taken up by private sector to make sure that they achieve what we want to achieve in terms of GDP and national growth. And then also to make sure that the system in research, that we have people that have a sort of machineries, construction of machinery that repeats some of these products locally. So we have to look at the research system and the ARCN and see where we can bring them together. Not only one product. Like the cocoa, we already have the research. And we produce the best, that Cocoa Research Institute has the best formula for chocolate, but nobody has taken it up. So we have a problem within the system. So we have to look at it holistically so that we address it. Shea butter, as I'm talking to you, Mr. Speaker, I used shea butter this morning as my oil. And it's very good, very important. And one of the best products in terms of it has many medicinal values. So I think, I don't know what the mover will do now, whether to look at it and see whether we can look at the whole system of our agri research system and look at, we have ginger, we have many things. Sesame, as my colleague has said. There are a lot of products in this country that are of international and local importance. So let us look at them and put them under our research system, if the need be. Thank you.
A bill for an act, number 3, to amend the Nigerian Research Institute Act to amend an existing law. It's to amend, not a new bill, if I get it. So, if we are amending, I am not saying that what we should be thinking of is not killing this, that we say, okay, we should not create an institute. However, the existing institute should take the responsibility of creating a unit for shea butter. I align myself with the submission of my last colleague on the fact that he used shea butter. That's what I use. That's what my whole family use. Mr. Speaker, the intention of this bill, my dear colleagues, is to up the game and bring shea butter to more prominency. So I would suggest that since it's an amendment of an act, that we can still go ahead and pass the second reading of this bill, while at the constitution, at the public hearing and constitution, we can amend whatever we want to amend, dot the I, cross the T. But killing it at this level will make us lose the privilege of adding value to that fact. So I'm appealing that those positions canvassed are valid. However, it can be cured at the committee level. That's my appeal.
Honorable Fake.
I'd like to make a contribution to this important bill. First of all, as an agricultural assistant, later an agricultural officer, then later an agricultural officer in the banking system. I also spent quite some time in the research institutes before I got into banking. I worked at Robert Research Institute in Benin, and then National Horticultural Research Institute in Ibadan. I align myself with the chairman of our Greek services. We don't need a new research institute. The ones that are there now, basically, we're just paying overhead to the staff. Most of them don't even have money to do scheduled research. So we just pay salary overhead for the sake of, well, they have these jobs, you have to maintain their jobs. This thing we are trying to do, we can achieve very simple. Amend the ARCN Act. What is ARCN? Agric Research Council of Nigeria, which is the umbrella body that controls all the research institutes. Oh, we need some light focused on shea butter. Mr. DG ARCN, find a way to add it to the mandate of the appropriate research institute. Rather than open a brand new research institute, director here and all that, we don't have money right now. So I also finance a lot of shea butter investment in banking. So we don't need it. It's a very important crop, but we don't need to open a brand new balance sheet into which we're going to be debiting money that is not available. I suggest that this person withdraw this and bring back an amendment to the ARCN, and you will achieve the same thing. Thank you very much.
It's very important, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we first understand the produce we are talking about. We should appreciate that shea nut, from where shea butter is produced, is a gift to this country by God. It is one of the numerous untapped resources that God has placed at the disposal of this country, scattered across 21 states. You can find shea nuts in Oyo State, shea nuts in Osun, shea nuts in Kwara, in Kogi, and across up to Abuja here. And our parents, our forefathers have been using this with crude technology. The foreigners, particularly the Indians, the Asians, have been coming to this country to take away this product unprocessed. No value is added. They take it away. Our neighboring country of Ghana and Cameroon here come here to take this product. They process it for export. Mr. Speaker, you will recall that cocoa at the initial stage takes up to 5-7 years before it can be harvested. But today we have cocoa, the brand of cocoa that can be harvested after 3 years. What happened? It was because there were research activities that will improve how this cocoa from the seedings to other level can be produced. I think that is what we are seeking to amend by saying that let us have an institute that will look into this God gift, and their work will include to reduce the life or the yielding life from 15 years, because for between the time it is germinated and the time it begins to yield, it takes 15 years, to be able to bring it back from this thorough research, we'll be able to reduce it from 15 to maybe 5, 7. And then it will also be responsible for creating and doing research into local machineries on how these products can be processed to add to our GDP. Mr. Speaker, it will interest you that after many, many years of exportation of shea nuts from this country, as of today, we cannot boast of one solid industry that is processing it. There is one ongoing industry, Mr. Speaker, as we talk, in Ilorin, up to today have not been completed because there is no support, there is no people to actually have the understanding of what God has given to us. Another one is called the Land Group Industry, somewhere in Ogun State. They have been lying fallow. I believe that with the establishment of this institute, this God gift will be brought to prominence in Nigeria, and then we'll be able to begin to yield and create employment to yield foreign reserve from it. This is my contribution, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker.
So, Chairman, Agricultural Production and Services, your last word on this.
Earlier submission, I said that shea butter, there is a research institute that is dedicated to conduct research on shea butter, but not specifically mandated, like a subsidiary mandate. For example, we have cocoa research. We have Rubber Research Institute. It is called Rubber Research Institute, but it has mandate to also conduct research on gum arabic. But it is called Rubber Research Institute, but it has mandate to conduct research on gum arabic and also date. So, with regard to shea butter, it's also the same way. We have a research institute that has the mandate to conduct research on it, but it is not named Shea Butter Research Institute. So what I am saying is that in view of the importance of shea butter, the employment that it creates, and the foreign exchange earnings that we generate, there is a need for us to have a research institute that is specifically named for the purpose of conducting research on shea butter with a view to maximizing the potentials of the country with regard to shea butter production. Just like we have Lecture Research Institute is dedicated, it has the mandate of conducting research on wheat and millet. And then when you go to Palm Oil Research Institute, it has a mandate to conduct research on palm oil. So when you go to Umudike, we have, it has a mandate to conduct research on tubers. So it is because of the importance that the country places on these crops and the potentials that we have in these crops that a research institute was specifically dedicated to conduct research on these crops. So, mutatis mutandis, I want to urge this House to also create a research institute that will be specifically dedicated for the purpose of conducting research on shea butter because of the potentials we have in this country with regard to shea butter production. Thank you.
I want to say one or two things to be able to sway opinions. The first important thing is that, like some of my colleagues said, shea butter has been like a nature's gift to Nigeria, and that we have not really looked at it as, you know, a potential. So now, it is true that, like the chairman said from his point of knowledge, there is a subsidiary attention that is being given to shea butter. But the question must be asked, where has that subsidiary attention gotten us to? I don't think we should be shy of a little bit of, I'm very conscious of the fact that we have, you know, problem with resources, and we should not just create new lines of expenditure. But if we have a lot to benefit, one, deforestation has caught up with the natural shea butter trees. A lot of them have been gone down, and they have gone into charcoal production. We don't have them again. That is number one. Number two, we have ₦1 trillion possibility of exports. We are looking for foreign revenue. If we can bring down from 15 years to about 5 years in research, and we pay attention, and seedlings are cultivated and distributed, we are talking about agriculture. Are we just paying lip service to agriculture, or we are looking at agriculture as an economic earner? So where do we start from? We have to start from the low-hanging fruits. This is in natural abundance. We have an experience. We know that there is a demand, and people come and take it from here and take it somewhere else to the benefit of those countries. So why should we be this shy to take an extra effort to pay more attention and more research to it? So I plead with my colleagues that I'm not unconscious or irresponsible about the fact that it's going to mean a little bit more of expenditure. We can look at how to even make sure that our agencies are not just busy areas where we are spending money and we are not getting value. It's a general problem we have as a nation. I agree with the fact that we must look at that. But I don't think we should, because of that, lose this potential of optimizing foreign earnings through shea butter. We're losing a lot right now, and before I came up with shea butter, I looked at other products. And I know that the global demand for shea butter can get us nothing less than ₦1 trillion every year. Thank you.
Bill will be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Clerks invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Nigerian Research Institutes Act, Chapter N123, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to include the establishment of the Shea Butter Research Institute and for related matters. Second reading.